this happened. It's all up to what happens on the other side, but it is not the way the church teaches people. Also, I do want to say, every religion in the world, every religion, has reincarnation as its basis because it makes so much sense. It answers all of the questions. And people always bring up the Christian religion. If you do your research, you will find in the early days of the Christian religion, it also had reincarnation as the basis of its religion. And it wasn't until the 5th century, whenever the church was founded, the 5th century at the 5th council is when they met to decide how they were going to have the Bible read. And that is when they went over everything and said, this is what we will say Jesus said, etc., etc. And this is the parts we will have in the Bible. And at that time, it was decided that all of the doctrines and the parts in the Bible dealing with rebirth would be taken out of the Bible. Now, this is not something I'm just making up. Anyone who wants to find out can go and look at the records, because this is still a record in the church records of what occurred at these different councils when the church was being founded and being put together. It is all there, all of these things, that it was taken out at that time. And I'm not trying to go against anyone's religious beliefs. I respect religious beliefs. I work with many different religions all over the world, and I respect their beliefs. I'm not trying to change anybody's belief system. I just say, ask questions. There's more out there. You can have both. You can combine the two together. You can have your church if you're comfortable there. That's fine. But you can also ask questions and want to know more. And when you get to the point you want to know more, the answers are there. And there's many books and there's many people out there who can help you to explore. It doesn't have to take away from your religious beliefs. You can combine the two together. It's always said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's what I've tried to do, is give them another way of looking at this. All right. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get into this time, but let's start with what happens when the person dies. And this, again, is the accumulation of all the years of research, everyone saying the same thing. If they are dying a simple death, like, from a lingering illness, and they've been in the hospital, something like that, if they're dying just an ordinary death, then they say first they feel very cold, and then the next instant they're standing by the side of the bed looking down at their body. And usually they'll say, gee, I didn't know I looked so bad. Then they realize what has happened, and they are so excited. They said, I'm out of there. Finally, I'm out of there. I'm not trapped anymore. I can do anything I want. I can go anywhere I want. All I have to do is think it, and I can be there. They said, this is wonderful. I'm not limited in that body anymore. And when you realize how they feel, would you really want them to go back into that sick body that is deteriorating and there's probably no way would ever be functional again? Would you really want them to go back into that body? Or if you would realize how wonderful it is when they are released and they are free of that. They don't want to go back into that body. They want to go on to the next step of the adventure. Now, people who have died violent deaths, car wrecks, or maybe in wars, where they are taken out of the body suddenly, then there may be confusion because they don't know what is happening. Like the other ones have an idea that they are going to die. But if they are taken out of the body suddenly, it can cause confusion, and they're not really sure what has happened, and they're trying to figure it out because they are jerked out so fast. That's a different matter. But the usual death is just very easy. They say it's just like getting up from one chair and sitting down in another chair. It is so easy to just slide right out of that body. And you know, you are not a body. You have a body. This body is like a suit of clothes. And like any suit of clothes, eventually it's going to wear out. And eventually you're going to have to get rid of it and throw it away. Even no matter how much you like the suit of clothes and how used to it you've been, eventually you're going to have to throw it away. And at that time, you go to another suit of clothes. That's all reincarnation is, because the real you is that spirit, that soul, that spark from God. And that's what I've been told by the people I've worked with. They see themselves as like a tiny spark. That's the real you. The body isn't. This is just your suit of clothes, your housing at this time in this life. The next time around, you may be in a different suit of clothes. You may decide to be at something totally different, and you go off on another adventure. You may even decide you want to go off into another planet or something. There are no limits to the adventures you can have. But this is just what you are wearing at this time. It will wear out, and you will have to eventually discard it. So I know we get very attached to it because we've had it for so long. We're used to it. But at the moment of death, we realize that we can just throw it off and we can go on to where we're supposed to go. And it's extremely beautiful over there. But this is a school. You come here to learn. And in this school, you can have to repeat a grade, but you cannot skip a grade. You cannot go on to the next grade until you have passed all the tests and all of the lessons in the present lifetime. Then you can go on to the next step. It may be in the same lifetime or it may be in the next lifetime. But you cannot skip a grade. And I've been told one of the reasons for coming to Earth is to learn limitations and emotions. There are some planets where they don't have these lessons. We have free will here. This is another thing that is different. But you come to Earth to learn limitations and emotions. And they said Earth is a very challenging planet. And they really admire the souls that want to come here and work out their lessons. And if you don't learn at this time, you have to come back and do it again. A lot of people keep drawing the same situations to their life again and again and again because they have not understood the lesson. They have not worked out the lesson. Once they understand this, that you do control your life, you create the things that happen in your life, then you can move on to the next lesson, which may or may not be better, you don't know. But it is the next step in passing the test. You can't go from kindergarten to college. You have to work it all out step by step. And you cannot return to God until you are perfect. And you cannot do that in one lifetime. It's absolutely impossible. There is too much to learn. You accumulate karma for many, many lifetimes. It has to be worked out. It's been said, God will forgive, but the law of karma will not. If you realize that, you would try to be better with people and try not to incur any karma, because you know you're not going to get out of it. It does come back. You must repay it. They say, what goes around comes around, and that is absolutely true. You see people that do awful things, hurt other people, and you say, how can this be? What kind of a just God would allow that? they don't realize, and you probably don't realize, they will have to pay it back. If it doesn't happen in this life, it may happen in the next life. But there's no way of getting out of it. And there are some people I've seen, it's like, oh boy, I sure am glad I'm not going to have to deal with their karma. That's going to take many lifetimes to pay all that back. The idea is to get off of the wheel of karma, to stop having to keep coming back to earth again and again and again, and then you can start advancing upward through the different spirit realms till you learn more and more. To get off of the wheel of karma. In my books on Jesus, I found a great deal of information. And Jesus, the only thing you could say he came to save us from was the wheel of karma. He saw that we were just going round and round, going nowhere, just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over, building karma and just getting back on the same thing and not progressing upward, not leaving the wheel of karma and progressing upward. He came to show us how we could get off of the wheel of karma and begin progressing up the ladder spiritually. And of course the answer is love. Love is the answer to everything. He said if there was love in the world, there would be no violence, there would be no wars, there would be no violence, and the world would be the heaven on earth it was supposed to be. He was trying to show people those things. A lot of this has gotten all tangled up with the religious dogma, but it's just the idea of getting off of this wheel of karma so you don't have to keep coming back and repay again and again and again. When I do my sessions, I tell people that the idea is to get rid of all the old karma and try not to make any more. Some people don't even know what karma means, but it's the law of balance. And everything has to balance. And if it doesn't, you have to keep coming back again to repay it, so it will balance out. It is a law of the universe, and there's many of these laws of the universe that just are. There's no way of getting around them. And if people realize that, I think they would be a lot kinder to each other, and there wouldn't be the wars and the violence that we see. But all right, we go back to the part where the person has left the body, and they are just so happy because now they can go and do anything they want. The last thing they would want is to go back into that body. Now, of course, the people who are with them when they die, or their relatives, there's always a lot of grief because they don't want the person to die. But if you think about it, who are you really grieving for? The person is going on to a beautiful, wonderful place, and they're happy. They want to go on. It's not that they don't love you. It's just that this is the next step, and they know you will understand. When you are grieving, you're trying to hold that person here. It's really for yourself. It's selfish when you think about it. It's because you will miss them. You depend on them. Of course, you love them, but coming back into that body would not be the answer. They have a whole other adventure to go on to. And I've had people email me and very upset, like one man said his wife had died